Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and in this video I'm going to use a random spinner wheel to choose what prompts I'm going to focus on this week for the Winter Binger Bingo. So I have all the prompts that I have left inputted in this spinner wheel, and I'm going to... And I think I'm going to spin it 3 times, choose 3 books that I want to focus on this week, and if I finish all of them really quickly, then I will choose more, but I feel like 3 is a pretty solid number for the week, and a little bit ambitious without going overboard. I read over 300 pages yesterday in Paradise 1 and finished that book, but that's not something that happens very often. I don't usually read that much in a single day. So let's see what I get for the first spin. So we will randomize it and spin. Okay, so we got Christmas Cookies. That is a book with baking involved in the book. My plan for this is to read A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic. My sister and I both have copies of this one. We are going to read it together. I believe she actually just started it. So I'll probably text her and let her know that I'm going to start it as well. If I change my mind on what book I'm going to read, I'll let you know. But for right now, I will read Fellowship of Bakers and Magic for that. And that's by J. Penner. I'll grab it here in just a minute, but I want to figure out what books I'm going to be reading first. All right, so next spin. Okay, so we got Secret Santa. The one that I'm kind of planning on doing for this one, this Secret Santa prompt is to read a mystery book. And for this one, the book that I've kind of slotted in for that prompt is Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. It is the follow-up to Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I read that one, I believe, last year, maybe the year before, and I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I had such a great time. And so I have that one out from the library right now that I need to read it so that way I can return it. But that's the one that I kind of had slotted in for this prompt. All right, and last but not least, spin number 3. I really hope that we get Thrills and Chills because I want to read We Used to Live Here for Thrills and Chills. So cross your fingers for me. Ring in the New Year. Okay, so this is a new to me book or a new release. So I'm not going to read a new release for this one because I think the only one that just came out so far this year that I can think of is The Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young, which I do want to read that one, but I don't have it right now. So I'm going to choose a book that is a most recent purchase for me. So let me take a look, grab the other books, and I will be right back. Okay, so I apologize if things moved at all. My daughter stopped my filming, and anyways, so I have for Christmas Cookies, I have A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic. This is by J. Penner. It says, a human, a dwarf, and an elf walk into a bake-off. In the heart of Adenashire, where elfish enchantments and dwarven delights rule, Arletta Starstone, a human confectionist, works twice as hard perfecting her unique blend of baking and apothecary herbs. So when an orc neighbor secretly enters her creations into the prestigious elven baking battle, Arletta faces a dilemma. Being magicless, her participation in the competition could draw more scowls than smiles, and if Arletta wants to prove her talent and establish her culinary reputation, this human will need more than just her pastry craft to sweeten the odds. While competing, she'll set off on a journey of mouth-watering pastries, self-discovery, heartwarming friendships, and romance, while questioning whether winning the baking battle is the true prize. Escape for a delightful, cozy fantasy where every twist is a treat and every turn a step closer to home. So I heard this book compared to the Great British Bake Off, but with magic. And so I bought this for my sister and I to read together. So I thought it would be a really fun one for her and I to read together. And it just looks really cute. So I will be reading this one for my Christmas cookies prompt. And then, like I said, I have Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. This is the sequel to Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. It's basically a bunch of writers on a train and somebody winds up dead and somebody did it and they have to figure out who did it. So it says, how can you find a killer when all the suspects know how to get away with murder? I'm really expecting this to have like the kind of the dry sense of humor, step-by-step walk through that Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone had. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a really, really fun experience with the book. And I mean, this book is not very big at all, so I think I'll read it fairly quickly. None of these books are, so I think it'd be perfect. I think this one is, oh yeah. So this one is 312 pages. Bakers and Magic is not even 300 pages. And last but not least, my Ring in the New Year prompt for a new to me book. I am going to pick up Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I've heard so many people talk about this book that I wanted to know what the hype was about. And there's a few books that are like that, one of them being Bunny. I have not read that yet, but I'm very interested to try that one out and see what the heck everybody loves so much about that book. But anyways, this one, I have heard amazing things about it. This is technically YA. I believe that it's set in like a World War I adjacent time. There's little bits of fantasy mixed in with it, but I think it's more described as like a magical realism. All I know is basically that they use a typewriter to write letters back and forth, and that's like the extent of what I know, but I've heard fantastic things about this book, and so I'm really curious to try it out. I also absolutely love this. Didn't realize it at first, but it has this beautiful foiling on the naked hardcover, which that's always great. I love that on the books. I love how many books are now coming out with their beautiful special edition copies that everybody can get without having to pay $60 for a book box. I love it. And I am a sucker for those beautiful copies. Example being Games God's Play by Abigail Owens. Anyways, getting off on a tangent again. So either way, these are the 3 books that I will focus on this week. And I think honestly, I might be able to add in one more, but I'll start with these. And then if I finish all of them, I will spin the wheel again, take those prompts out, and we'll spin again. I also still have a couple of movies that I need to watch, one of them being The Holiday with Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet, which I watch that one all year round, so that's totally okay with me. So maybe I'll throw that on as well. Anyways, I will get to it. I will start one of these books, and I will come back on, and I will give you my initial thoughts for them. Good morning, guys. So it is 5:18 in the morning on Friday, January 10th. I wanted to come on here and give you an update because I didn't give you an update yesterday. I ended up starting to read The Fellowship of Bakers and Magic by J. Penner. This is my Christmas cookies prompt. I read this book in its entirety yesterday. I finished it at like 11 o'clock last night and I read the whole thing. I'm giving this one a 3.75 stars. It was cute. It was really sweet for the found family. However, the characters were flat. The writing was just really basic. The storyline in general, I told my husband last night that after reading books like A Fadington Blood and Games God's Play and Paradise 1, these are all chunky fantasy sci-fi books that are very immersive. This one felt really flat. It felt really basic. I didn't really care for Arletta, our main character. There were things that I liked about her, but at the same time, it just felt like she was really whiny, and that she was just, oh, like, I don't know, she just kind of had that poor me outlook, that everything was not going her way, and so she just complained a lot. But at the same time, I did really like the other characters. Really liked the friends that she made. I loved her stand-in fathers at the beginning. With this book, I didn't really explain what it's about. This is a book about Arletta, that she lives in a really, really small town. She is human in a world that has all kinds of magical creatures, orcs, elves, dwarves, among other things. And she is a human among them and has no magic. And she's a baker, and she's really just trying to kind of make ends meet. She just kind of gets by with her baking. She's very passionate about it. She really enjoys doing it, but she never really makes enough money to go anywhere with it. And so she gets entered into this baking competition. This is the 100-year anniversary of this baking competition, and she gets entered into it and gets the invitation to go and compete. So this book is all about her going to this baking competition and competing in it, and meeting some friends and meeting some new people along the way, having to step out of her comfort zone because she's never actually left her hometown, and just having to learn a lot about herself. And it was, like I said, it was a really cute book. I really loved the friends that she made, the side characters, and the romance I felt like was pretty boring. They didn't really have, I didn't feel like they had much of a connection personally. It just was just kind of there. The male main character was very sweet, but it was just kind of, I don't know, it was almost like an afterthought, you know? This, like, she had the idea for the baking competition, and then everything else kind of fell by the wayside, except for the found family. The found family I thought was definitely there. So overall, I thought this book was really cute. Was it the best thing I've ever read? No. Am I going to forget about it here within the next month? Maybe. Yeah, probably. But it was really cute, and I did really enjoy it. Like I said, I read this book. This book is 291 pages. I read it in its entirety yesterday, along with Bridge to Terabithia, for another video. And so yeah, I thought it was really cute though. So that means that officially the first book for this vlog is finished, and I have my Christmas cookies prompt that I was able to color in on my bingo board. Now, the other two books that I have, Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, is a library book that I really need to read because I've been putting off reading it. And the other one was Divine Rivals. I'm really excited to try Divine Rivals. So I'm not entirely sure which one I'm going to pick up next, but when I kind of think about it this morning, hopefully I will start one because I have about 40 minutes before I need to go and wake up the kids for school. And so yeah, I'm gonna kind of do some thinking, figure out what I want to pick up next, and I will try to come back and update you at the halfway point of that book because I failed to do so with this one. But anyways, I will check back in with you later on today when I figured some things out. Hey guys, so I wanted to come on here and give you all a quick update. Sorry, my hair is crazy right now, it's still wet. But I got to thinking, with Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, I really want to read this. However, I have a lot of books that I have on my TBR, and our goal with Winter Binger Bingo is to try to read some of those books that are on our physical TBR. And since this is a library book, it doesn't really work for that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off on this prompt, do some thinking, and try and figure out a replacement. Possibly I have an Agatha Christie or a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle that I could potentially fit into this slot. But I want to do a little bit of thinking first. So I think that I am going to read Divine Rivals next. Hey guys, so I needed to come on here and do a really quick update. So as of right now, I am not reading Divine Rivals for the Ring in the New Year prompt. I got this yesterday. This is Revenant X. This is the second book in the Red Space trilogy by David Wellington. I just finished Paradise 1 last weekend, or the end of last weekend. And so I picked this up yesterday and I'm going to start this one. But this one counts for Ring in the New Year as well, because this is the newest book I have bought, as well as one of the newest releases I have. This came out on November 5th of last year, and so it counts in both ways. So I'm actually going to swap out Divine Rivals because I really, really want to pick this one up and read this. First 20 pages of this, I really, really liked it. It picks up right where the last one leaves off and it jumps right into the action. They are at Paradise 1 and I can't wait to read more of this. So this is what I'm going to be reading for my Ring in the New Year prompt. I'm going to try and finish this hopefully in the next couple of days. This one's like 200 pages shorter than Paradise 1. And I read that one really quickly. So I'm going to get to reading this and I will come back and give you some updates later on when I have read a little bit more than the first 20 pages. Friends. So this video has been absolute chaos. I started out by spinning the wheel and I got Christmas cookies for a prompt, and for that one I read A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic by Jay Penner. I read this one in a single day. I did not give you any updates, as you know by this point, but I gave it a 3.75. I thought it was really cute and I really enjoyed it. Then I decided not to read Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson for a mystery, and never actually came back to replace that prompt. So here we are. Also, instead of reading Divine Rivals for my Ring in the New Year book, I ended up reading Revenant X by David Wellington. This is book 2 in the Red Space trilogy. It came out November 5th, so it's a newer book, just came out not too long ago, and it was the newest one that I just had gotten. I got it on Friday. I have not given you any updates on this book either, but I finished this book the day before yesterday, again, 11 o'clock at night. I finished it. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I absolutely love this. This book picks up right where the first one leaves off and continues on with Petrova and Zhang and Rapscallion and Parker on Paradise 1. And it picks up right where we left off and continues in the story. And I loved it. I thought it was so good. I still think that the characters are not excessively likable. I think that they're very frustrating and they're very annoying. But I love Rapscallion. He carries this entire book for me. He's my favorite character. He remained my favorite character in this book. I love him so much. I don't know why, with these space books, I always seem to love the AI characters the most. Same thing happened with To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I liked the AI in that book as well. The ship mind in that book as well. So yeah, I really loved this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. And I don't want to say too much about it because if you've not read Paradise 1, then this is going to be full of spoilers. So I'm not going to say too much about it. But Paradise 1 is basically that Petrova is a member of Firewatch, which is basically the space's security. And she's a member of Firewatch. Zhang is a doctor that he has a wristband that basically regulates his emotions, gives him shots of antidepressants or whatever it may be when he needs it. And Sam Parker is a pilot. Rapscallion is the robot who is assigned to their ship, Artemis, to basically keep things clean and whatever. So they are kind of thrown into this mission to Paradise 1, which is supposed to be a colony planet or a newly colonized planet, to try and figure out why they have not had communications with them for over a year. And things happen, things go crazy, their ship gets attacked, and a lot of things happen in the first book. So this is the direct follow-up to that. Like I said, I love this one. I thought it was really, really good. I don't usually binge read series. It's very, very rare that I actually want to immediately pick up book 2. But I liked this one enough. I picked it up. I kept reading. And now I'm so anxious for the third one to come out. But there's no release date yet. So I will be keeping an eye out for that one. And I loved this book. So I spun an extra prompt for an Arctic animal, and I'm not going to do that one just yet because I finished 2 prompts, and my third one is the Secret Santa prompt that I originally spun. So I think what I'm going to do, so that way I can actually get this video edited and up for you guys in a timely manner rather than having it go on forever, I am going to pick up The Hound of the Baskervilles today. This is by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is a Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson mystery. It says, The Hound of the Baskervilles is one of master mystery writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's most accomplished stories. Sherlock Holmes and his companion Dr. Watson confront one of their most difficult cases ever. Is there truly a curse on the old Baskerville estate? Is there truly a ghostly beast lurking on the dark, eerie moors? A masterful concoction of plot and mood, the story is guaranteed to give you the shivers. So I've heard this one is supposed to be like his creepiest book that he came out with, and it's not very long. It's only like 246 or so pages. So I think I'll be able to knock this one out pretty quickly, and that'll work out perfect because then I can get this edited and posted. Forgive me for the absolute chaos. My mind is everywhere. I have so many new books, so many things that I want to read, and so many video ideas, but I'm having a really hard time like sitting down and actually focusing on one thing at a time. So I'm gonna knock this one out as quickly as I can. I'm really excited. I've never read anything by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle before. I've never read Sherlock Holmes. I've never read anything like this. I don't usually read classics, but I do want to try this one out because I have heard good things, and I wanted to try something, and I would like to read more classics. I just am very intimidated by them. So I'm going to pick this one up. I'm going to read it today, hopefully get this video, start editing, and get it posted for tomorrow. So I'm kind of cutting this one down to the wire a lot, but I'm going to start this one today, and I will try to actually update you before I am finished with it. This one is only, like I said, like 240 pages, so I will try and come back at the halfway point and give you an update on my thoughts and the storyline and kind of what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about reading a classic, because that doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to quit talking, and I'm going to start The Hound of the Baskervilles for my Secret Santa prompt. Good morning, guys. So I read a little bit more of this morning and yesterday, of course, and I am up to 145 pages. I'm on chapter 10 in The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, my first ever Sherlock Holmes, and I'm a little over halfway through it now. I don't really know what to think of this book. I think it's kind of eerie, and there's a lot of little mysteries happening. So let me back up a little bit. This book is obviously a Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson mystery. The mystery is that this family, the Baskervilles, they have basically a curse on them that they live on the moors, and if they go out into the moors after dark, they will have a terrible, huge hound that will kill them, basically. And supposedly it's happened for centuries, or like a really long time, They have multiple generations that have died in this way, in horrible deaths that are unexplainable. And so what happens is the last owner of the Baskerville mansion, home, whatever you want to call it, he lived there for 2 years, and then he met a mysterious, unexplainable death that basically sounds like his heart failed him and he dropped dead. Supposedly about 20 feet away from him, there were giant footprints that looked like a giant hound. And so Dr. Mortimer is the neighbor and the doctor for this area and for this home. And he asks for Sherlock Holmes's help and Dr. Watson's help to try and solve this mystery, figure out what happened, and to try and keep the next person, the last heir in the family, who is going to be moving into the house, which is Henry Baskerville, to try and keep him safe and hopefully keep him from coming to a terrible, tragic end as his predecessors. So they're looking into it. They're trying to figure out who could possibly have motives in these men dying, whether that be the butler and his wife, who is the housekeeper at the house, or if it could be a neighbor or another family member, or who could possibly have motivations in him dying. And apparently he is very, very wealthy, like upwards of just under $1 million kind of a thing, but with the house included, it's like worth $1 million, which is a lot because this is 1800s. I think it was like 1884 is what this, or it's a little after 1884, I guess. So it's, late 1800s, early 1900s. So you figure $1 million with the inflation rate would be a lot at this point. I don't even know what that would be, but either way, so they're trying to look into the neighbors and stuff like that because they don't think there's any particular family members that could be interested because they're either old and a little senile or they're dead, they're gone. And so it doesn't seem like there's any family members. However, the neighbors are a little odd. They have one neighbor that I can't think of his name. I don't know why. They have one neighbor that he lives there with his sister, and Henry Baskerville has started to realize that he has feelings for this sister, and her brother freaks out and loses his mind about it, loses his shit, because he's like, well, I've never been away from my sister, but if she starts caring for somebody, then somebody's going to take her away from me, kind of a thing. So it's really odd. But this book is reading really, really quickly. And I started this one out kind of doing a tandem read. I wasn't able to get the audiobook because Hoopla, which is the app that I use through my library for audiobooks, had reached their limit for the day. But I looked it up on YouTube, and there actually is an audiobook on YouTube that I started listening to. So I was kind of starting out with a tandem read just to kind of get a feel for it and get started with it. And I really like doing that because, especially since I don't normally read classics like this that are written in the older, more I don't want to say, it's not exactly elegant, but in a little bit more sophisticated kind of, just a different way than what I'm used to reading. It doesn't flow quite as easily to me. And so starting it out in tandem definitely really helped me get into the story more and kind of get a grasp on what I was reading. I'm not doing that now. I am just reading it physically now, but I think that really, really helped me in starting out. So I think I might continue to do that with any other classics I try to read. I'd like to read Dracula this year. I want to reread Little Women. And I'd like to just try my hand at some more classics this year. So I think that might be a good way to do it, is to tandem read. But overall, I think this book is, it's definitely a slower pace, but I think things are going to start picking up. A couple mysteries have been solved, but I think there's a lot going on still as well. There's also a prison nearby that they had an escaped convict that we heard about, and so they have not hadn't found him yet, and so that's kind of a overhanging thing that's kind of going on in the sidelines. And so yeah, I think it's really interesting. Sherlock Holmes is actually not even in this very much. Sherlock Holmes is back in London. This is all from Dr. Watson's point of view. He is at the house with Henry Baskerville. He is the one who is talking to people and experiencing things, and he's the one who's actually there. So far, Sherlock Holmes has actually been a really, really minor part of this book, but it's really interesting. So I'm going to finish this up this morning and see kind of what I end up thinking of it. I think it has potential to get eerie, but I don't know because of the time period if it's going to get as creepy as I want it to. But I'm really excited to continue on and kind of see where it goes. At this point, I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on who is behind it or what's actually happening. But I'm really curious to see kind of where it goes. So I ended up watching Sherlock Holmes last night with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. I watched that one last night, and then while I was reading this, I told my husband that I was reading Sherlock Holmes, so I had to watch Sherlock Holmes. So we watched that last night, so that was kind of fun. And I almost put in Holmes and Watson with Will Ferrell instead, but I figured I'd go for the more accurate, serious one rather than Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, but that might be another one that I end up watching because I really like that movie. It's stupid and it's dorky and it's hilarious. I love it. But anyway, so I'm going to keep reading this and I will give you my final thoughts when I finish it, which shouldn't be too much longer. Like I said, I think I only have maybe about 100 pages left. So I'm going to finish this up and I will talk to you afterwards. Okay, hi guys. So I have since gotten dressed and had lunch and whatnot because it is now 12:30. But I wanted to come on and give you a very brief recap. So in this video, I spun the spinner wheel to choose 3 prompts. Fix the camera here. Okay, so I spun the spinner wheel to choose 3 prompts to choose 3 books for the Winter Binge Bingo for me to read this week. In all the chaos, I switched some things around, I didn't switch some things around, and either way I read some books. So the first spinner wheel prompt was Christmas cookies, and for that I read A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic by Jay Penner. I gave this one 3.75 stars. I'm not going to get into it, I talked about it yesterday when I came back to this video. But either way, I read this one. For my Ring in the New Year prompt, I ended up swapping that one out entirely and I went with Revenant X. This book was released on November 5th of 2024. It is book 2 in the Red Space trilogy by David Wellington. The first one being Paradise 1. I read that one right before I picked this one up and I really enjoyed both of them. I gave Paradise 1 4 stars. I gave this one 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed this series. Definitely a good space book. The characters aren't excessively likable, but it is a really interesting story, and there's some surprises and some deceptions and some eeriness, and I just really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to continue on with this series once book 3 comes out. And so yeah, I read Revenant X for this one. I picked this one up last Friday, so I've had it for less than a week at this point. So read that one. And then last but not least, for a Secret Santa, which is a mystery prompt, I originally chose Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. And I still really want to read that book. However, at this point in time, it's just not going to happen. I want to focus on the books that I own. I have over 200 books on my TBR. And I really want to focus on that. And the whole point of this Winter Binger Bingo for my sister and I is to read books that we already own. So for that one, I swapped that one out and I ended up reading The Hound of the Baskervilles. This is by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. It is Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And I finished this one. I said this morning that I started this one kind of reading in tandem, audio and physically, and I think that was a really great way for me to start. and I'm really glad that I did it that way. It definitely helped me get more into the story, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a really good mystery. I thought it was done very well. I think the eeriness was definitely there. It's not up to par, really, I think, personally, with some of the other books that are coming out now that are way more creepy. But I thought it was done really well, especially when you think of the time period. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid. I did give it 3 stars, so it's not like my favorite book of all time. And honestly, I'm probably not going to remember it. It's not going to like stick in my head for a really long time. But I'm really glad that I read it. And I'm definitely working at kind of mastering some anxiety of reading classic books, because books like this, I expect them to be really old world English and difficult to follow, difficult to understand. This one, The Hobbit, Little Women, Dracula, any of those, they just intimidate me because I just don't read a whole lot of classics, and I don't expect to be able to read them and process them and understand them. So I think of like back in high school, we read in class bits of pieces of Dante's Inferno. It's really, really complicated, but I have it down here on my shelves because I'd love to be able to get to it one day. Same thing with Shakespeare. I never got into Shakespeare. We read it in high school, and it was okay for me to understand at the time because I had somebody walking through it with me, but I've never had any interest in going back to it because I feel like I'm just not going to get it. So I think that's definitely starting to master a fear a little bit for me by reading this one. And I have read Little Women in the past. It was a really long time ago, so I do want to reread it. I've also read Journey to the Center of the Earth. That one I listened to mostly in audio format, and I liked that one as well. It's about the same like with this one, that it's not something that's excessively memorable to me, but I am enjoying them and I am glad that I read them. So I'm really glad that I picked it up. I don't think I'm going to read any more from this author personally because it's just not really my thing. However, I am glad that I read it, and I did enjoy the mystery, and I liked the eeriness that he did invoke in his writing. It was just not totally my thing. So I did end up finishing this one. So overall, in the chaos of this week and this vlog, I read these 3 books, and I finished 3 more prompts on the Winter Binger Bingo. I have not blacked out that bingo board yet, which is a goal that I had. So if I am going to finish it by the end of the month, I will need to get to reading, but that's for another day. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe down below. And if you've read any of these books or if you have any recommendations for me, as always, leave those in the comments down below. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.